You should never shrink yourself to fit his comfort zone, and I mean that in every sense. Too many people walk into relationships believing that the only way to keep the peace is to play small, to hide the parts of themselves that shine the brightest, just so the other person doesn't feel threatened. You stop talking about your wins, you downplay your intelligence, you pretend like your dreams aren't as big as they actually are, because somewhere along the way you started to believe that if you shine too bright, you'll cast a shadow on him. And so you start making yourself quieter, softer, less noticeable, thinking that's love, but it's not. That's compromise at the cost of your identity. And the dangerous part is, it doesn't happen all at once. It's subtle. It starts small, almost unnoticeable. Maybe you don't speak up about an idea because you think he'll feel insecure. Maybe you stop wearing what you like because he makes a side comment. Maybe you stop celebrating your achievements because you don't want him to feel like he's behind. Piece by piece, you chip away at yourself, convincing yourself you're doing it for the relationship. But in reality, what you're doing is erasing the very person he fell for in the first place. Here's the truth. If a man is threatened by your light, that says more about him than it ever will about you. A healthy man doesn't need you to play small for him to feel big. A strong man doesn't need you to hide your strengths so that he can feel powerful. The right man will clap the loudest when you win, not silence you. He'll encourage you to step into every room with your head high, not whisper to you to tone it down. But here's the catch. He'll only know how to treat you based on how you treat yourself. If you constantly minimize yourself, you're teaching him that it's okay to minimize you. If you constantly bite your tongue, you're teaching him that your voice doesn't matter. And if you constantly hide your talents, your ideas, your brilliance, you're teaching him that it's okay to overlook you. People will mirror the standard you set for yourself. So stop apologizing for being who you are. Stop thinking you have to be less than in order to be loved. Love isn't about subtraction. It's about addition. Two whole people standing strong on their own and choosing to walk together. That's partnership. And if you have to shrink to fit inside the box of his comfort zone, then that's not partnership, it's imprisonment. Let me tell you something. Your light is not too much. Your ambition is not too much. Your dreams are not too much. The wrong man will always make you feel like they are, but the right man will make space for them, cheer them on, and even push you to go further. Because he's not intimidated, he's inspired. He doesn't see your strength as competition. He sees it as a blessing, and he doesn't need you to shrink. He wants you to expand. At the end of the day, you weren't made to be small. You weren't made to walk on eggshells around someone else's insecurity. You weren't made to hide your fire just so someone else doesn't feel the heat. You were made to stand tall, to take up space, to speak with confidence, and to live fully alive in the skin you're in. Never abandon your boundaries. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make in relationships, because when you do, you're not showing love. You're showing that you're willing to lose yourself just to keep someone else. And the moment you give up your boundaries, you send the message that your needs, your values, and your self-respect are negotiable. That is dangerous, because once you start teaching someone that you'll bend in ways you said you never would, you open the door for them to push further, to take more, and to treat you in ways you swore you'd never allow. Boundaries aren't about punishment, they're about protection. Protection for your heart, for your peace, for your energy, and for your time. They're the invisible lines that say, this is where I end, and this is where you begin. And without them, you blur yourself out of existence. Some people confuse boundaries with being difficult, but that's not what they are. Boundaries are healthy, they're necessary, they are the sign of someone who knows who they are and what they stand for. Think about it. If you don't communicate your boundaries, how will he ever know what matters to you? If you stay silent when he crosses a line, how will he ever learn to respect it? If you keep making excuses for behavior that violates your standards, how will he ever take those standards seriously? Respect is earned, yes, but it's also taught. And it's taught by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce. The truth is, some men will test you, not because they're always intentionally trying to disrespect you, but because they want to know where your lines are. They want to see what you'll tolerate. And if your lines keep moving, if your no turns into maybe, if your standards start shifting every time he pushes back, then you're teaching him that your boundaries don't actually mean anything. And once that happens, you'll start resenting him, not because he crossed the line, but because you let him. And here's the thing. Real love doesn't ask you to give up your boundaries. Real love respects them. Real love honors them, because the right man isn't afraid of your limits. He's grateful for them. Boundaries don't push the right person away. They push the wrong people away. And that's exactly what they're supposed to do. Too many people believe that love means sacrifice at all costs, that if you really love someone, you'll tolerate whatever comes your way. But love without boundaries isn't love, it's chaos. It's like giving someone the keys to your house and saying, "Come in whenever you want, do whatever you want, take whatever you want," and then being surprised when they trash the place. You can't be upset about someone disrespecting your space when you never set the rules for how they should enter it. So you have to stand firm. You have to be clear. You have to know your lines and hold them. Not because you're cold, not because you're selfish, but because you understand that if you don't protect your peace, no one else will. And if you don't respect your own boundaries, why would anyone else respect them either? A man who truly values you will never see your boundaries as a burden. He will see them as a guide, a map that shows him how to love you, how to care for you, and how to build trust with you. But a man who resists them, who constantly pushes against them, who makes you feel guilty for having them, that's a man who's showing you exactly why you need them in the first place. Never sacrifice your dreams for his convenience. That's one of the most subtle yet destructive mistakes you can make, because at first, it feels like love. It feels like commitment. You tell yourself, "I'll just put my goals on hold for a little while so he can figure his life out." Or, once he's stable, then I'll come back to the things I want. And little by little, your dreams get pushed further and further to the back, until one day you look around and realize you've built your entire life around someone else's path while completely abandoning your own. What you have to understand is this: your dreams are not optional. They are not luxuries. They are part of who you are. They're tied to your identity, your joy, and your purpose. And when you sacrifice them for his convenience, you're not just giving up on some far-off idea. You're giving up on a piece of yourself. And a relationship that costs you yourself is far too expensive. The truth is, a healthy partnership creates space for both people to grow. It's not one person's life orbiting around the other. It's two people moving forward side by side. If you're always the one pausing your journey so he can keep running, you're setting up a dynamic where his life matters more than yours. And over time, that imbalance doesn't just kill your ambition, it kills the relationship. Because no matter how much you try to bury your dreams, resentment has a way of resurfacing. You start feeling unappreciated. You start feeling invisible. And the love that once felt so full begins to feel like an obligation. I've seen people convince themselves they're being supportive by constantly stepping aside. They say things like, "I'll go back to school later," or "I'll chase that opportunity after he's settled." But here's the truth: later rarely comes. Life doesn't wait for the right time, and the longer you postpone your calling, the harder it is to reclaim it. You can support him without silencing yourself. You can encourage him without abandoning what drives you. And if he truly loves you, he won't want you to give up your dreams. He'll want to see you pursue them with everything you've got. And let's be clear, pursuing your dreams doesn't mean you're selfish. It doesn't mean you're neglecting the relationship. It means you're bringing the best version of yourself into it. Because when you're alive in your purpose, when you're chasing what lights you up, you become more vibrant, more fulfilled, more magnetic. That energy doesn't take away from the relationship, it fuels it. But when you choose to shrink your vision so he can feel more comfortable, what you're really doing is making yourself smaller than you were meant to be. You trade passion for permission, and over time, that emptiness inside of you doesn't disappear, it grows. And no amount of love from him can fill the void that's left when you abandon your own calling. So here's the standard. You don't pause your life to make someone else's easier. You don't bury your goals just so he doesn't feel inconvenienced, because the right man isn't threatened by your ambition. He's inspired by it. The right man doesn't see your dreams as competition. He sees them as part of the bigger picture you're both building. And if he can't handle your pursuit, then what he really can't handle is your growth. Never accept disrespect in any form, because the moment you do, you teach someone how to treat you, and it usually doesn't come loud and obvious at the start. Disrespect often walks in quietly. It looks like little comments brushed off as jokes. It looks like ignoring your opinions in conversations, dismissing your feelings with a laugh, or making promises that are never kept. And when you let it slide, when you tell yourself, it's not that big of a deal, what you're really doing is lowering the bar. And once that bar is lowered, it rarely goes back up. The truth is, love without respect is manipulation. Respect is the foundation. It's the glue that holds trust and love together. Without it, no matter how much passion you have, no matter how many sweet words are exchanged, the relationship becomes hollow. Because someone can say they love you while still disrespecting you. They can claim to care while still cutting you down. But respect, that's action. That's how love shows up in the everyday moments. Think about it. How many times have you made excuses for someone's behavior just because you didn't want to cause conflict? You tell yourself he didn't mean it, or he was just stressed, or you're being too sensitive. And while you're busy explaining away the disrespect, he's learning that he can keep getting away with it. Every time you excuse it, every time you swallow it, you're teaching him that your feelings are negotiable, that your dignity is flexible. And once that becomes the pattern, it doesn't stop, it grows. A man who truly respects you will guard his words, not weaponize them. He will protect your heart, not pierce it. He will listen when you speak, not dismiss you. Respect doesn't mean he's perfect, it means he's intentional. It means he recognizes your worth and treats you accordingly, even in disagreement, even in frustration. And the reason that matters is because respect is not tested in the easy moments. Respect shows its face when tension is high, when emotions run deep, when disagreements surface. That's when you see if his love is rooted in true regard for who you are. Here's the painful reality. If you allow disrespect to become normal, it will change you. It will silence your voice. It will make you second, guess your worth. It will convince you that this is just how relationships are, but it's not. Healthy relationships are not built on fear, control, or belittling. They are built on mutual honor. And when you refuse to accept anything less, you filter out the people who were never capable of giving it in the first place. And yes, it takes courage to call it out. It takes strength to say, that's not okay. But the alternative, living in a cycle of quiet disrespect, slowly destroys your confidence, your joy, and your sense of self, and that is too high a price to pay for anyone, so don't settle for apologies that never come with changed behavior. Don't settle for words that sound like love, but actions that feel like harm. Don't settle for someone who only values you when it's convenient, because the right man won't just say he respects you. He'll prove it in the way he consistently treats you. Never try to mother him. That's one of the most exhausting traps you can fall into in a relationship, because it feels noble, it feels loving, but it's not what a partnership is supposed to be. It starts small. You pick up after him because he doesn't. You remind him of everything because he forgets. You soothe every frustration because he won't deal with it himself. Before long, you're not just his partner. You've become his caretaker, his manager, and his safety net. And here's the thing, when you step into that role, you might think you're helping him, but really, you're enabling him to stay exactly where he is. A relationship is supposed to be two adults walking side by side, not one adult dragging the other along. And when you constantly carry all the weight, you don't just tire yourself out, you rob him of the chance to grow, because growth comes from responsibility, growth comes from accountability, growth comes from the struggle of figuring it out. And if you're always stepping in to save him, he'll never feel the need to step up. You'll start to feel like you're raising a man instead of building a life with one. What happens over time is dangerous. You begin to resent him. You feel drained, unappreciated, even unworthy, because the balance is all wrong. You're pouring out more than you're getting back, and the harder you work to keep things together, the more careless he becomes. Why? Because he knows you'll pick up the pieces. He doesn't have to change if you're always covering for him. He doesn't have to grow if you're always fixing his mistakes. And that cycle leaves you depleted, stuck in a relationship that feels less like love and more like responsibility. Now, let's be clear. Supporting your partner is not the same as mothering him. Support is healthy. Support means encouragement, standing by him, being a safe place. But support has boundaries. Mothering does not. Support says, I believe you can handle this, and I'm here to cheer you on. Mothering says, you can't handle this, so let me do it for you. And that's a huge difference, because one builds respect, the other builds dependency. And if you want a man to respect you, you cannot carry him like a child. Respect is born when he knows you expect him to show up, when he knows you believe he's capable, and when you allow him to face the consequences of his own choices. Love is not rescuing someone from reality over and over again. Love is standing beside them while they figure out how to stand on their own 2 feet. If you keep mothering him, eventually you're going to lose attraction too. Because you can't be both the nurturer and the lover. You can't constantly parent someone and still look at them with admiration. Romance doesn't thrive in a dynamic where one person feels like the caretaker and the other feels like the dependent. What keeps love alive is respect, and respect requires equality. So stop carrying burdens that were never yours to hold. Stop fixing problems that aren't yours to fix. Stop excusing behavior that only grows because you allow it. A true partner will rise to the occasion when you step back. A true partner will want to meet you where you are, not sit comfortably while you carry the load for both of you. Never lose your identity. That might be one of the hardest lessons to learn, because when you care deeply about someone, it's so easy to merge your world with theirs. You start spending more time together, sharing routines, aligning interests, and before you know it, pieces of who you are start slipping away. It begins innocently. You cancel plans with friends because he wants to see you. You set aside hobbies you once loved because they don't really interest him. You start changing little parts of yourself just to keep the connection smooth. And it doesn't feel like much at first, but over time it adds up. Suddenly, you wake up one day and you can't remember what you enjoy outside of him. You can't recall what made you feel alive before the relationship started. That's not love, that's losing yourself. A relationship should never cost you your identity. It should add to it, amplify it, sharpen it. The right man doesn't want you to lose yourself in him. He wants to discover more of who you are while you're with him. Because your individuality, your uniqueness, your spark, that's what made him drawn to you in the first place. If you strip that away, not only do you lose yourself, but you also lose the energy that kept the relationship alive. And here's the truth. If you don't know who you are outside of him, you'll start depending on him for your worth. You'll start relying on his validation for every choice, his approval for every decision, his attention for every ounce of confidence you feel. That creates a dangerous imbalance, because now your happiness isn't rooted in who you are. It's rooted in how he feels about you on any given day. And nobody, no matter how much they love you, can carry the responsibility of being your only source of identity. When you lose yourself, you stop showing up as a whole person in the relationship. You start showing up as a shadow, and shadows can't hold love. They cling to it, they fear losing it, they settle for less than they deserve just to keep it close. That's why it's so important to nurture your individuality, to hold on to the friendships, the passions, the goals, the quirks that make you who you are. Because when you keep your identity intact, you're not only protecting yourself, you're protecting the relationship. It takes courage to say, "I love you, but I also love me." It takes strength to maintain space for your own life while sharing life with someone else. But that's what keeps love healthy. That's what keeps attraction alive. A strong man doesn't want someone who loses herself in his shadow. He wants someone who stands fully in her own light and chooses to share that light with him. That's partnership. That's balance. So never make the mistake of giving up your identity in the name of love. Don't stop being who you are to make the relationship easier. Don't silence your passions, your voice, or your individuality just to keep the peace. Because the moment you lose yourself, you've already lost the most valuable thing you had to bring.